All right, young men watching this, or even if you want kids in the future, should you stay home, live with mom and dad for as long as possible, maybe forever, or should you move out at a young age? Now, I was born and raised in England, and England, very much like the States, is it's very much of the mindset that you should be out the door fending for yourself as early as possible. Right? Ideally, there's a lot of parents out there that like ideally they hit 18, they get a fucking job, they get the hell out of here, right? Or if they're not gonna do that and they're gonna hang around for a bit longer, hey, you got to pay your rent. Now, this was the mindset. This wasn't quite the mindset I had in my family. I have a unique. I think I have a unique perspective on this. I lived at home. Technically, I lived at home until I was 23. But I traveled a lot because I was playing tennis. I traveled all around the world, mostly by myself. And then at 23, I went from living at home in my mum's place with my brother and sister to complete 180. And I moved out, but not just moved out and got my own place like down the road. I moved to a whole different country by myself. So I want to give my perspective, what I think on this. Now, in today's economy, if you're going to look at it from that point of view, from an economical lens, it makes no sense to move out as early as possible. You should try to stay at home for as long as you can. And this is the mindset, by the way, this is the mindset of most of the world. Most of the world is like you live at home. You live at home until essentially you get married. Really, this was the case here in Cyprus, where I moved to. I moved in Cyprus, and I remember being so brainwashed by this concept that when people told me that this is what people do, grown men will stay at home and live with their mum and dad up until they could be potentially 30 years of age, until they actually find a wife. I remember just laughing at that, thinking that's just so ridiculous. But it turns out that's kind of the mentality of a lot of the world, most of the world, and has been for most of human history. It's a very new concept. It's a very westernized new concept, and there's a reason for it. There's a deep reason for it. This idea that you get out and you fend for yourself at a young age. We've been programmed and we've been brainwashed to believe that that's the ideal. Absolutely, 100%. And the reason behind that is because if you're out fending for yourself, well, guess what? That means you're working. You're working a job, which means what are you doing? You're paying into the system. You're paying your taxes. You're paying rent. You're paying for food, right? That's another person into the system. And once you're into the system, paying into the system means that's another person completely reliant on the system. So it's no surprise that in America and the UK, sort of two countries really at the forefront of this capitalist idea, or this hyper individualism, promotes this. But I think staying at home, definitely from an economic point of view, would be suicide at this point. It really would. It doesn't make sense. How are you going to get ahead? How are you going to save? How are you going to? Inflation's out of control. Wages aren't kept up with inflation, and they're not going to do it anytime soon. I mean, it makes no sense to financially kick your kid out at 18, get a job, and count their pennies at the end of every single month. But also, it's not even from an economic standpoint. It's, for me, and again, you go back to pre-industrial revolution times until this, and this idea, this hyper individualism that took over the West. It's what we did. We stayed at home. We're a family. The family's a unit. You stay together. You live together. You work together. You're together all day long, every day. The parents solely raise the children, and the kids learn from their parents, and all of this stuff. And eventually, you find someone, you find a partner, find a wife, a husband. Okay, you move out, get your own place, start your own family somewhere else, and usually close by. And often next door. It's a funny thing here in Cypriot culture, because I'm on the Greek side. I don't know if you've seen My Big Fat Wedding, but so what the Greeks do, the kids will stay at home until they get married, and their parents, if they have enough money, they buy them a house which is right next door. And in my case, me and my missus, we live in apartments, um, and her mum and dad live right next door to us. And now, initially, pre-kids, I was like, oh man, this kind of sucks. They can sort of come over whenever they come around too much. They're always knocking on the door. Now it's great. When I've got kids, I really see the benefit of it. It's just so great, and that unity, that family unity, and everything else, and how close the kids are to their grandparents. It's beautiful. It's amazing, and how close my wife is to her parents. It's fantastic to see. I think staying at home, being a unit, being a family, for as long as you can is a beautiful thing. Now, a lot of guys and young guys, they want their own place because, hey, it's more appealing to women. And that's true. Look, at the end of the day, it's true. If you want to put that above, money, maybe you're going to struggle financially, but hey, you're going to get laid more often. You put the women, and you can date and bring chicks back, and you got your own place, and it looks cool and sexy and everything else over your family and looking after your family, and then you're being together. Fine, fair enough. Do that. It is what it is. Just know that that's probably why you're doing it. Maybe you want your own plan. Of course, look, if you're in an abusive family and your parents are horrible and you want to get out of the house as early as you can, absolutely, right? Try and do that then. Go for it. But if you've got a good family, good parents, fuck what women think in a way. Fuck them, whatever. If the women are turned off the fact you live at home, you can look. If a girl's into you guys will figure out. There's hotels. There's hotels. You'll figure it out. You got your cars, whatever. You could get all that stuff in, and that'll be your values. You just you live by those values. You don't budge by them. But yeah, I moved out. So when I was 23, and here's the myth, like there is this belief that if you live at home, you kind of stunt your own personal growth. And moving out of the home, you've got to fend for yourself. There's a lot of growth there, and you look after yourself and learn all this. First, I actually think that's massively, massively overrated. Firstly, most people, when they move out, they're very close to home. Secondly, this idea that you fend for yourself, you don't really fend for yourself, do you? You're not going out, right? You're now relying on the system, which kind of provides you with so much. Things are so easy. You don't have to cook for yourself anymore. You get a delivery, you get microwave meals. You don't have to hunt for your food. That's a supermarket. That's a 5-minute drive away. Right? There's no real, you pay some bills. You've got to figure out, pay some bills, and kind of that's it. There's not really much. You can get a cleaner in if you don't want to clean and all this. And I moved country. I moved country. I changed culture, everything. I did it all by myself. And yeah, there were some tricky parts to it, and there was some element of growth. But in all honesty, not all that much. Not like, oh, I changed and grew so much. And you're not burning the boats here. When you're not leaving the house, flying the nest for good, and that's it. You're never going to see them again. There's no way of coming back. I always knew. Yeah, I moved to the other side of Europe. I always knew that, hey, if I don't like it and this ain't working out, I'll just get on a flight and I'll go back home and figure it out again, right? And you know that, so it's not all or bust here. So I think that growth aspect is really overrated. So I would always say my advice now is stay at home as long as you can. Stay at home. That's how you're going to get ahead financially. That's how you're going to be able to save. That's how you're going to be able to invest. You're going to have more time, more money, and more energy, more focus to actually work on things on the side, build something, whatever it is. And also, I think we've been indoctrinated this idea we should be out living alone. There's all this growth. I think that's overrated, and I think it's more important to stay close to your family, stay a close unit as much as you can if you've got good parents. And stay close to them. They're the most important thing. They really are. Family is the most important thing, more than your own space, your own freedom in some ways. So that's my 2 cents on it. What do you think, guys?